Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Today we are back with a brand new video, and today I want to talk about Star Wars and the issues that are arising since Disney took it over a while back now. So, first things first, Disney took Star Wars over in 2014, I believe it was. And they obviously took Lucasfilm and all of the ownings of that at the same time. But the big one is really Star Wars, and some people like it, some people don't, some people have mixed opinions, and some people, quite frankly, don't care. For various different reasons, more than likely being they don't like Star Wars. So, today I want to talk about quickly Star Wars and my opinions on it. Now, I think you guys know by now that I am a Star Wars fan, Disney and old, and that is still an opinion. I still absolutely love Star Wars. I've watched everything, including Star Wars Resistance, which I'm not very proud to admit. But I have watched the lot. And granted, some things are worse than others, but some things are very good. And people overlook this when they talk about Disney Star Wars being the almighty franchise that's killed off Star Wars. Didn't made it better, but here's why. So we had in terms of George Lucas's era of owning Star Wars from the 70s up to the teens, the early teens, and obviously the late 70s when Star Wars first came out in 1977. But Star Wars had only a few different things, and for the time that was kind of the norm. You had movies, you didn't really have TV shows about a franchise. There weren't really major franchises back in the 1900s because there weren't these places like Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu to watch all these series. The main things that people watched was cinema, and then if they really liked it, they bought the video. That was pretty much it. So there's a massive shift of having TV shows is really a 2000s thing. Obviously, you did have franchises and TV shows from films, but they weren't as massively popular as what they are now. And that is something people forget. So if Star Wars came out today, the chances are that if George Lucas was the one creating it now instead of the 1970s, then he probably would have taken an approach to create more TV shows with it and create the brand of what it is today. However, that did not happen. And George Lucas created basically three different things. The original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, and the Clone Wars. I'm only including canon here, so I'm not going to include any of the books. I'm not going to include the 2003 Clone Wars because it's non-canon. And kind of that's all he did, really. Now, obviously, that is major. I'm saying that that's all he did as a bit of a letdown because creating the franchise that is one of the biggest of today is a massive thing. However, in terms of what Star Wars releases now, over that 30-year period, basically, it was roughly 30 years, about 35, it wasn't that much, but the quality was good. Now, obviously, at the time, the prequels were backlashed because people didn't like them. And people have grown to like it from looking back on it over the years. Because, yes, they were quality. Just people didn't like it at the time because some people didn't like the fact that it kind of undermines some plot points from the original trilogy. For example, the Vader and Luke father scene, that was kind of like demolished in a sense. Because if you watched it in chronological order, then you kind of already know that. It's just Luke's reaction you're seeing then. Whereas when you first watched Star Wars, when it was just the original trilogy, it was a shock to the audience as well. But obviously now, we know that. But then you have the Clone Wars, which to start with was again backlash for being a kids show on a adult and teen thing. And now obviously teens are the ones that are heavily into the Clone Wars. But you've got to remember, when the Clone Wars was released, the teens and the young adults that are into the Clone Wars massively were the kids it was aimed at then. So the shift in age group has possibly grown into the fact that the stigma of the prequels being bad is no longer there, because the people that enjoyed it are now older. Then we get into the Disney Star Wars era, let's call it. So this has already got, in the 10 years coming up to soon, that we've already got a larger proportion of things that they have released themselves. Now, obviously, to do their whole decanonizing and Legends to canon, expanded universe slashing they did when they first took over Star Wars. But that was good and it was bad. It was good because before Disney did that, Legends was a very choppy and confusing time, because you kind of had to know what you're on about to know what you're on about, if you know what I'm saying. Now it's kind of obvious what it is. You know, you just Google the timeline, very strict, very orderly. Whereas anyone could have made a Star Wars project and it would be canon. Obviously, you know, you'd have to have the rights for that, but you get the point. So that was good, and it was also bad because obviously you lost some of the characters that have later been brought back into canon, a few of them, but a lot of the characters are lost. For example, Starkiller, one of the greatest anti-heroes you'll see in a piece of fiction, full stop, really. He's not even in canon anymore, but he's such an incredible character from the Force Unleashed series that he would be amazing to see in canon, but he's not. But I want to talk about Disney Star Wars and my personal and truthful opinion on the matter. So I've done films in the films. I have not done a film. I've done videos in the past where I talked about Star Wars and I've talked about my opinions. And I'm not going to go into too much detail here, other than the fact I want to share my opinions all at once. So, the sequel trilogy, 7, 8, and 9. They were choppy, they were messy, they were a bit weird, but they're not as bad as people say. Obviously, I've said my thoughts about episode 8 and 9 not being great, but they're still good movies. They're just not quite the standard that you'd expect from Star Wars. Episode 7 is the only outlier, and that was a great movie. The whole factor of episode 8 and 9 being so bad is because they don't really continue the story that well, especially episode 9, where they just throw Palpatine in for no apparent reason, be done with it. Didn't really like that, but episode 8 didn't really leave that much room for building because there were no other characters that they could have added in that much. The story wouldn't have made sense to just randomly add a character in for one episode that you've never seen before. It would have felt like a rushed character. So there are some redeeming qualities about them, but there are also some qualities that are bad but are also understandable. However, overall, the sequel trilogy is definitely by far the weakest series overall. But it was Disney's first crack at it, so you have kind of got to give it some leniency because the expectations were high. Because Disney is already a multi-billion-dollar company. And then you have Star Wars, which was also a massive company. So putting them together, you'd expect something great, something magnificent, something incredible, and it just wasn't it. But then they have their second crack at movies, in a sense, with Rogue One and Solo. They worked better, but they still weren't great. I think recently Rogue One and Solo have definitely been praised a lot more. But I think the whole point of them not doing so well was because of the sequel trilogy and people not being very big fans of them. So them just not having much faith in those two movies, despite the fact they were incredible. And Rogue One has possibly the best Vader scene you will ever see at the end of the hallway scene. Solo has some amazing characters that we would all love to see more of, especially in the Andor series when that comes out. Obviously that's Rogue One. And then you have the Lando series with Solo. We have the world building possibilities. And I want to get into that. So the series and the world building aspects of those series. Also, they revitalized the Clone Wars to finish it off in season 7, which was by far the best season of the Clone Wars. People overlook that as being Disney, but that was Disney at its height of Star Wars. And it was an incredible series with a lot of tension and drama. Even though we knew Ahsoka would live to Rebels, because that released in 2014 to 2018, and then Clone Wars was 2020, we still didn't know if she would survive. Even though we did, and that is a difficult thing to do. But Rebels itself was basically the continuity of the Clone Wars that Dave Filoni kind of made as like, I'm not allowed to make the Clone Wars, but I'm going to make the Clone Wars. And he did it in an okay fashion. I'm not a massive lover of Rebels, but there are episodes which I absolutely adore. For example, Phantom of the Apprentice, I believe it is, which is, was it Shadow of the Apprentice? I don't know. The season 2 finale episodes with that whole Ahsoka and Vader fight, that's incredible. The World Between Worlds is incredible. And there are some aspects that I do like, but there's also aspects I don't like. So, again, overall, it's not great. It's still not as good as stuff like the original Clone Wars and stuff with the world building and that, because we're only following the same cast of characters over and over. So there's only a certain amount of things we can do with them. So I want to finish up this little bit here with the final bit of animation here with the Bad Batch before I move on to the live actions. So the Bad Batch is probably my favourite animated TV show. It's probably better, in my opinion, than the Clone Wars because of kind of the fact that it's just incredible to see. You know, the characters are originally from the Clone Wars with a spin-off TV show, but the continuity you have and it being, you know, every episode so far has been an important piece. A piece of the puzzle that we didn't know has been explained even further. And that thing between episode 3 and 4, that vast 18 years, is barely touched. And the fact that they touch on actually the clone side of things into becoming stormtroopers, especially in season 2 now, when that releases soon with Cody, Crosshair, more details into the clones and their replacements and what they actually do as an uprising here, potentially an uprising anyway. It's an incredible show, and it is the best piece of series in terms of animation that we've seen. And there's only been 1 season of that, compared to 7 seasons of the Clone Wars as of today's date. Obviously, we have this Bad Batch season 2 coming out soon, but it's incredible to see. And a lot of our favourite characters from whenever of the franchise are coming into our shows from Disney, and people overlook the power and the incredibleness of these series because A, they're animated, and B, people just don't like to admit that Disney have done stuff right. So I want to get into the live actions here, and this is where things get a little bit controversial. So I'm going to start off with the non-controversial one, being The Mandalorian, being the greatest Star Wars piece at all. People of every single age love it to bits, and people praise Disney for this. It is their first piece of Star Wars content that everyone can admit it's great. I think it's received the least amount of backlash since the original trilogy, episodes 4, 5, and 6. And that is amazing to see. Disney have managed to create something that is going to stick. It's only been around 4 years now, not even that as of time of recording, and yet the characters are already iconic and known to everyone. We have likes of Baby Yoda, the Mandalorian himself. We've seen returning characters such as Bo-Katan come into live action for the first time ever, even played Bo-Katan by her Clone Wars voice actor. That is incredible. And the fact that they're doing that and showing us pieces of the puzzle of Mandalore is amazing. You know, the struggle that Mandalore had with the Empire even after the Empire's destruction, is an incredible thing to have seen. And The Mandalorian Season 1, in my opinion, is better than Season 2. Because Season 2, I felt like a couple of times there was too much trying to promote other things. Although we did see Boba Fett come back, and who doesn't like Boba Fett? Well, the people from Book of Boba Fett. So the Book of Boba Fett is kind of possibly the most controversial thing since maybe Rebels. And that is sad because Boba Fett is a very, very important character, and he's an amazing character with a lot of depth that we don't know because we don't know him. You know, the most we'd seen is kind of in episode 2. Obviously, he was a child then. Other than that, he's just been a really cool bounty hunter that we didn't know much about. And The Mandalorian, we did kind of touch on him, and he was still that amazing bounty hunter. And then the Book of Boba Fett comes in and undermines everything. Because we've seen Boba Fett be Boba Fett in The Mandalorian. But then in the Book of Boba Fett isn't the same Boba Fett. Obviously he is, but he's been changed because of the Tuskens. But if he was changed by the Tuskens, that would mean he would have had to have been changed for The Mandalorian. He wasn't. So the continuity error was there. Although Jameer Morrison did an amazing job. I love the fact they improvised like a bantha scene. That was incredible. We only found out it was improvised at Star Wars Celebration 2022 a few weeks ago. But in my opinion, the Book of Boba Fett was still a good show. I enjoyed it. And it was fun, you know. Although I wasn't a massive lover of how they treated Boba Fett and changed his character arc to being something completely different to what we've seen before, I kind of liked it anyway. Granted, it wasn't quite the Boba Fett series I was hoping for and expecting, but it was still a very cool show. The only downside is the fact that Mandalorian was in 2 whole episodes of his own, basically. And I would have preferred to have not had that. As much as I love The Mandalorian, I wanted to see a series for the Boba Fett character, not for the Mandalorian character. I kind of understand why they had to do it, but I still would have preferred the Book of Boba Fett to be about Boba Fett and not have like a fifth of the series dedicated to a different character. So we're getting on to the spoilers here and Kenobi. So if you have not seen Kenobi yet, or if you don't want me to spoil it, then please do skip ahead now or click off the video now. So, Kenobi. So far, there has been a lot of controversy here. And I would like to say the fact that I am adoring it. Every moment I am liking it. And I even felt at one point like, oh my god, is this person going to survive? Despite the fact we know he does because he's in the original trilogy. So, yeah, I kind of enjoyed it a lot. So I liked the fact that we saw the child Leia, despite the fact it kind of doesn't make sense now with the original trilogy. But I don't mind. You know, it kind of does fit a plot hole that it creates at the same time. A different plot hole. But then I also really like the fact that Bail Organa as well is the actual Bail Organa from the prequels. But the Vader scenes have all been amazing. You know, I liked the fact that he didn't kill Kenobi straight away because he didn't want to, you know. If Vader wanted to kill Kenobi, he would have done easily. But he wanted... I feel like Vader didn't kill him because he wants to make Kenobi suffer like Vader's suffered. He wants to fight Kenobi at his prime like he was in Revenge of the Sith to prove that he is stronger than Obi-Wan Kenobi, which Vader deems his biggest defeat. And his only defeat was the fact that he lost to practically disabled. He lost a lot of his Force abilities. He lost the ability to have many of these dark side Force powers that he would have had. So overall, I'm liking it. I liked the exact contrast between Vader and Obi-Wan both using the Force to push the water in Fortress Inquisitorius. And a lot of people are saying it's cheap that they copied Fallen Order for that. But I thought it was amazing because it just shows you how similar Anakin and Obi-Wan were, because they both thought of the same thing to get away from it. And they are both pretty much the same character, just evil, good. I like it. And I like the fact that Vader is just menacing. He's just running around villages, snapping kids' necks, which I did laugh at the series. And please do let me know in the comments below if you also laugh when Vader just randomly snapped the kid's neck after killing the kid's father. I liked it. To draw out Kenobi, it was an amazing sight to see. And the fact that Vader just nearly killed Reva when she failed, but then he found out she didn't, and he put her down so gently. It was great. I liked that because it shows that Vader isn't someone that just wants to kill. He wants to kill. He doesn't want to kill, you know? Vader is smart. He is one of the most smartest characters in all of Star Wars. And so if they'd have just made Vader just kill randomly, it wouldn't have made sense. And obviously you have the Vader comics where he does have a couple of friends in the Empire, which he frowns upon. He doesn't kill them because he knows that they are necessary people and they are something that can be used efficiently and effectively. But it also shows that Vader is full of revenge. He wants to kill the Obi-Wan Kenobi, not the Ben Kenobi. Now, obviously, we'll find out soon enough that he doesn't, because Obi-Wan and Vader both are in A New Hope. And that's when Obi-Wan obviously takes the defeat. But overall, Disney, Star Wars, or George Lucas Star Wars? Well, for me, they are pretty much equal at the moment. George Lucas barely had a fat L. The only L I would say that George Lucas made was the Clone Wars movie. But there was also a lot less things that George Lucas made, and there was a lot less risks that he made. Disney have taken a lot of L's, but they've also taken a lot more risks in actually creating the different content that we have. So I think that overall, Disney are doing a great job with Star Wars, and they are nowhere near killing Star Wars like many people are saying. I think that Disney Star Wars, in a lot of places, is the best Star Wars we have ever seen. You know, Mandalorian is the best Star Wars. The Bad Batch is the best Star Wars. I like the characters that they've created, most of them. I like the actors that they've brought in. They're all good actors. And some of the actors have even now got great careers that have come off Star Wars, despite the fact they were treated poorly in Star Wars, which just shows you the amount of levels that people can have. The issue really is the Star Wars community, because some of the Star Wars community are very bad people. The vast majority are great. They are criticizing when criticism is due. You know, they are sharing their opinions, but in a very criticizing manner, not a hateful manner. However, you do have the small majority that are just attacking people for whether or not they are right or wrong. It doesn't matter. They are hating on them anyway. And that's not a problem we've seen with Disney. Hayden Christensen, he had this whole backlash when the prequels were around. And he left acting for a very long time because of that backlash. And we have had other characters have backlash, such as Maria Tran from episode 8 and 9, and then now Moses Ingram from the Kenobi, just to say a couple. There are a lot more characters that have had a lot of errors in recent times. Hated on because people don't like the character, so they don't like the actor because of whatever. And a lot of the time, that's unnecessary. It's racism, whatever. And that's just unnecessary. And that's not a problem with Disney, that's a problem with the community. And that's on them. You know, they are not the fans that we want in Star Wars. We want the people that are just criticizing it. But overall, I would say that Disney Star Wars is not as bad as people say. And I know that I've made my voice clear countless times about the criticism I have of Star Wars. But overall, I enjoy 90% of it. I don't like Star Wars Resistance, which is why I did not go into it on this video. Because I don't like any aspects of Star Wars Resistance. So there's not really a point in me bringing it up, because I'm just going to say I don't like it in a long way of saying it. And that's not useful in any sense, which is why I've only brought up series which I enjoy, because I can share the fact that some things I enjoy, but there are points in something I enjoy that are weak. If I was just saying about stuff I didn't like, then the video would sound like a hate video. And I don't want that. I want to criticize it. I want to praise it at the same time. I just want to make my views clear that I love Disney Star Wars and I hate Disney Star Wars. I love George Lucas Star Wars and I absolutely hate George Lucas Star Wars. Star Wars is a form of media that you can't like everything, because some things are just that much different to other Star Wars content. Because Star Wars is not just one thing. Star Wars is multiple things. It's multiple fan bases in Star Wars. But anyway, enough of this. This has been a very long video. So if you have enjoyed this video and you would like to see more videos like this, then please do let me know with a like, hit the subscribe button, and let me know in the comments below if you want to see more like this, and your thoughts, and what you want me to do next time if I do more videos like this. Because it's fun, and it takes a lot of time, but it's also a lot of effort. So if you do enjoy it and you do like it, then please do let me know. But anyway, that is going to be it for this video. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Goodbye.